Hi everyone, this is Scott Teske, and this is the reflection video for my final project for R547. The primary motivation for my project was to provide school staff with professional development materials that would clearly define the IEP process, as well as the differences between the IEP accommodations and modifications. I felt this would be an ideal project for me because it's relevant to my current work and would benefit a great many of the school districts that I coordinate with, especially those who do not have a large budget or resources to seek out new training and who simply use old, outdated training materials. One factor that I was always mindful of was the vocabulary of the lesson. With my target audience having a wide variety of experience levels, I wanted to find a balance between using vocabulary that was both appropriate and informative, but also not bogging the learner down in minutia. Using my own experience with personal development trainings, I often found myself losing interest or falling behind in a training area that I was unfamiliar with because it just had too much technical jargon. So I really wanted to focus on vocabulary because, in my mind, that's one of the foundations of a good training. And I didn't want to create a training that was overly nuanced or something that wasted time and money. The other really big takeaway I had with this was the experience that I gained with the scope and sequence of information and keeping that in line with my learning objectives. In my first semester at Indiana, I became really interested in Charles Regalu's elaboration theory, so I was excited to get some hands-on experience with one of his big design principles. This was a really great help for me as over the course of the semester, I started off with a scope that was quite broad, and which I gradually refined down to something that I felt was achievable in the short time frame that we had. And this allowed me to kind of chunk my information into a sequence that I thought was logical and efficient for the learner to follow. Although my information was chunked into decent sizes, one of the goals I have moving forward with building and refining this project is the addition of video to supplement the text. I'm happy with my project's initial prototype, but I'll definitely have my work cut out for me to add visual information and get some experience with the corresponding HTML and CSS. I also plan to create small knowledge checks along the way to ensure that learner engagement and hopefully provide more scaffolding for them as they progress towards the assessment. And the last big goal that I have currently is to create a summary/slash wrap up page to indicate to the learner that the lesson is over and how the learner can use and build upon their new knowledge. Now that we're nearing the end of the semester, I wanted to say how much fun I've had. As Dr. Carlin said, learning web development and instructional design skills simultaneously in such a short time frame was very challenging, but also really rewarding. The self-directed learning approach has really been a formative experience in terms of studying HTML and CSS. I was struggling at the beginning of the semester to find a starting point to begin my studies, but the weekly HTML assignments were really great for helping me make connections between the functioning of HTML and CSS, as well as what elements and properties that I use most often. I also really enjoyed building the different prototypes as well as using the 5-star evaluation method. My current experience is mostly geared towards the creation of lessons using materials that are provided to me, so it was a nice change of pace to have some creativity in choosing and building a lesson. This class was my first experience with using HTML and CSS, and I felt like I learned a ton this semester by seeing how all the elements and properties work together and getting to use them in an e-learning environment. I was also really excited to use the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite and get some familiarity with the industry standard tools and move away from things like PowerPoint and Google Slides. This class, along with my graphic design class, has given me a good glimpse of how the tools instructional designers use, such as Photoshop, Illustrator, Dreamweaver, and Articulate, are used to create full-fledged e-learning materials. I'd just like to take a minute to thank Dr. Carlin for being such a supportive instructor and a great resource. I'm really happy I was able to get some good experience with researching and implementing the principles of instructional design, working on a variety of prototypes, and start building a foundation for future HTML and CSS projects. Best of luck to everyone moving forward, and I hope you have a great rest of the summer. Thanks.